Well, we're right at our 19th anniversary for Stand to Reason, and I thought it might be a good idea, and so did the enforcer, that I shared just very briefly how we kind of came to be now 19 years ago. We're beginning our 20th year this May. And it actually, like a lot of things in my life, seemingly happened almost by accident. There was a pattern in my life of pursuing the issues of thoughtful Christianity, apologetics, being biblically informed and aware, and teaching others these kinds of things. So I was in the process of using my gifts and trying to make the best use as a good steward of the things I had learned and the gifts that I had and the things that I cared about in the body of Christ. And it was 1992, make that this February of 1993, and I was in India doing a series of talks there at a Bible college in Madras, India, and also some talks around town at some other universities and things. And the leader of the Bible Institute, Bobby Gupta, cornered me one day, and he said, "You know, you ought to stop what you're doing at the local church." And I was involved as a teaching pastor at a local church, and I was very satisfied there. But you ought to focus on doing what you've been doing here the last few weeks with us as an issue of stewardship. This is what you do best. You should focus in on that. And that's, of course, was consistent with my own view of ministry, that God distributes ministry by gifting, not by calling, but by gifting. And so I began thinking about this issue. Actually, initially I just dismissed it. He had been a part of the startup of Ravi Zacharias' organization, and he thought, well, there's some kinship there in what you guys are doing, go ahead. And I just dismissed it. I thought, no, there's no way. And went back to the States, and about a month later, Bobby Gupta came to the States and invited me to breakfast, and then over breakfast he really pushed hard. And he said, this is really something you ought to think about doing. It's an issue of stewardship, on and on. And so then I took it seriously. And I gathered around me a group of people, including the enforcer, Melinda Penner, and other trusted spiritual mentors or peers or people that I valued their insight on. I guess there was about 8 or 9 of them, and Bobby Gupta was one for that meeting. And I floated out this idea of Stand to Reason. I don't even know if I called it that at the time. But in any event, I had the concept in mind, and it was not well developed, but I tossed it out to the group, and I just wanted to know what they thought about it. And I had various responses, most positive, but there was also this sense that this idea is not well developed, and we're not sure. We're excited, but we're not sure what we're excited about. So I had to go back to the drawing board, and within a month I had put together a fairly coherent concept of Stand to Reason. And then on May 1st of 1993, we met with a group of people, about 50 people, very close to me, people who had been praying for me and were familiar with what I was already doing on the radio and teaching at my local church, and were excited about the contribution that I had been making so far. And I asked them, I presented this idea to them. It was in the Ocean View Room of Hope Chapel in Hermosa Beach. And I presented this whole idea to them. And then I asked them 2 questions at the end. The first question was, and we passed out a sheet of paper for them all to write on. I want to know what you think of the idea. Thumbs up, thumbs down, should I go ahead? What's your counsel to me? And the second question is, if you think I should go ahead, how much money are you willing to put down to capitalize this venture to get us rolling? And I don't think there was a single person who disagreed with the concept. Everybody voted yes, which was a great vote of confidence from people that I really respected. And also, within, I guess, about 3 weeks, we had raised $15,000 to $17,000 that came into the church from this group to help begin the enterprise. And I took this as a real good go-ahead. We were onto something important, and then Melinda and I began putting together the details of the organization and starting like that. And since then, of course, now it's 19 years, and God has been so pleased to prosper the work that we've done. We had fabulous volunteers there at the beginning. We owe a lot to Hope Chapel in Hermosa Beach for domiciling us, kind of keeping us there, giving us offices for free, and helping us with the transition and helping us financially until we were totally onto our feet. There were a lot of things that happened, again, that were outside of our control, and we really saw God's hand working, not only in the moment making things happen, but as I look back in the past and all the things that God had put into place, like the radio show, for example, that I've been doing for 4 years before Stand to Reason actually started, all those things that God did to sovereignly set up the conditions for a successful launch and now 19-year history of Stand to Reason. So we owe everything to God. And we followed our spiritual instincts, as it were, our scriptural mandate to be good stewards, and we saw God work in the process. And there also were thousands of people over the years that have been so gracious to give of their time and give of their finances and give of their prayers to keep us moving forward successfully. And now 19 years from the start, we're still in, as I often say to our board, a bull market for Stand to Reason. And we're glad to do so. And by God's grace, we'll be here for another 19.